Welcome to LFN News, a production of LFN Media, bringing you the latest in celebrity news, with specific analysis to keep you in the know of what is going on around you. R. Kelly's Chicago trial, that concluded last month, shone a ray of hope on his run to freedom. His defense attorneys scored highly on multiple convictions against R. Kelly, casting a cloud of fear over the prosecution. It's no wonder. There is now talk that the prosecution team in Cook County are heavily contemplating dropping R. Kelly's county charges altogether. The prosecution in Chicago lost on 7, more than half of the 13 counts charged against R. Kelly, but the loss that probably hit them hardest was that on the headline charge of obstruction of justice, where it was alleged that Kelly obstructed justice by rigging his related 2008 state trial, at which jurors acquitted him of all the charges against him. Kelly's co-defendant and longtime business manager, Darryl McDavid, was also acquitted on the same count, as well as 3 other charges, in the same mixed verdict. In a press conference after the verdict, U.S. Attorney John Lausch expressed great disappointment in not winning their convictions against Kelly across the board. Even R. Kelly's lead defense attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, mocked the prosecution, saying in a press conference after the verdict, saying, "Prosecution should go and look back and ask, was this the best strategy to bring into play?" implying their performance was far from standard. At least one legal expert also raised concern, saying, obstruction of justice charges aren't generally hard to prove, but in this case, the facts just weren't there, said Phil Turner, a former federal prosecutor in Chicago. Prosecution had claimed that R. Kelly and McDavid conspired to ensure a key witness at the 2008 trial lied about the facts of the case, and left the country with her family, in a bid not to take the stand and testify against the R&B king. What a bold claim it was. State and federal prosecutors also alleged Kelly and McDavid concealed critical evidence in relation to the trial. The conspirators applied particular pressure on a girl, now 37, and referred to in federal court as Jane and her parents, resultantly stopping the girl from taking the stand in that trial, which effectively led to R. Kelly's subsequent acquittal. Prosecutors alleged. Irrespective of their efforts, however, including granting Jane and her mom immunity deals ahead of their testimonies in Chicago, something they will always live to regret, it was glaringly evident to the jury that there was no case here. In their testimonies in Chicago, Jane and her mother said they lied to a grand jury in the early 2000s about the allegations against R. Kelly, and they effectively didn't testify at the 2008 trial. Jurors at that trial said they had no choice but to acquit Kelly because the central alleged victim did not testify. That jury was scammed. They were scammed by Robert Kelly and his fixers, prosecutor Janice Appentang emotionally told jurors in Chicago. Leaves you wondering how someone can make such outrageous, unfounded allegations in a court processing, with no proof whatsoever. We know R. Kelly was indeed and is still powerful, irrespective of his current adversity, but just how powerful do you need to be to rig a full jury? Some allegations surely beat human understanding. During the trial, federal prosecutors insisted that the payoffs, that allegedly started in the early 2000s, included R. Kelly and his team funding trips by Jane and her parents to the Bahamas and Cancun, Mexico. What a vivid imagination. Critically to their theory of the case, federal prosecutors also alleged R. Kelly intermittently paid Jane's rent, by then in her 30s, until just several years ago, allegedly to ensure she kept quiet. Was R. Kelly trying to shut up every woman he went on to pay rent for? What a bogus theory. It became evident, even earlier on in the prosecutors' arguments, that their case would not hold. Besides, all the odds were clearly not in the prosecution's favor. They were definitely wrong to think that bribing Jane and her mom, with their immunity deals and restitution promises, would be all they needed for the case. Boy, were they wrong. These allegations were from actions that happened more than 2 decades ago, so memories of how they purportedly unfolded must have been really dimmed themselves. At least 4 known men, who may have had direct knowledge of what exactly happened then, have since died. Among them was Jane's father, who actually died a year ago. May his soul rest in eternal peace. On the stand, their star witness Jane testified that she lied to a state grand jury in 2002 when she said that it was not her on the alleged tape, adding that she did that to protect Kelly, greatly compromising her credibility in the face of the Chicago jury. Jane's mother, who went by the pseudonym Susan, also testified. She said she lied to the state grand jury, in part because she and her husband allegedly felt threatened by Kelly and feared for their lives. Really? What Jane's mother must have forgotten as a fact of life, is that a seemingly threatened family would under no circumstances entertain getting any closer to R. Kelly over the years, and she evidently did not have any explanations for how a threatened Jane, leave alone herself, would still be attending R. Kelly's parties upon invitation, leave alone sharing seemingly intimate conversations with him. R. Kelly's defense team, like any competent legal team would do, repeatedly attacked the credibility of the government's main witnesses, noting that they were testifying with immunity deals up their sleeves, including Jane, her mom and R. Kelly's ex-girlfriend Lisa Van Allen. Those immunity deals had clearly served as licenses to lie for them, and there was no way the jury would take anything they said with credibility. That just might have been the prosecution's biggest mistake in the whole Chicago trial, and it sure cost them big. They came in here to tell the government's version of the truth, Bonjean, Kelly's lead defense attorney said to the jury in Chicago. What many people did not realize also, is that Kelly's payments for Jane's rent, what they were actually for, and how long they actually lasted was critical to deciding guilt on the trial-fixing charge. That's because the federal statute of limitation clearly states that someone can't be charged with such an alleged conspiracy if it ceased within 5 years of its indictment. As it turns out, Kelly and McDavid were indicted on that specific charge in 2019. So prosecutors had to show that the alleged conspiracy actually ran up to at least 2014. A daunting fact to prove. Prosecutors therefore argued that the rent payments to Jane after 2014 was part of the continuous conspiracy. Attorneys for Kelly and McDavid balked at the claim that the rent payments were hush money. They noted that Kelly remained friendly with Jane and her parents for many years after the 2008 trial. Jane testified, too, that she cared deeply for Kelly at least until his 2019 indictment. Defense lawyers then argued that, even if there ever was a conspiracy, it didn't last beyond 2014. Bonjean also questioned why Susan continued to mix with Kelly socially for the next 20 years, if at all she felt so threatened as she had alleged in her testimony. McDavid's lawyer, Beau Brindley, also mocked Van Allen's claims that McDavid threatened to kill her, labeling them as mere unfounded allegations that prosecution could not prove. At this stage, it was evident that prosecution had lost this case. Indeed, there was nothing solid to support prosecution's outrageous claims of trial rigging, and no wonder the jury resultantly found both Kelly and MC David not guilty of those charges. That's all we had for you today. Please let us know in the comments section below why you feel prosecution acted desperately in overcharging Kelly with counts they were sure they could not win. We value your honest opinion. Thank you for watching LFN News, a production of LFN Media, giving you another view of issues at hand. To get notified whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now and hit the notification icon, and remember to give us your comment on the subject matter below.